Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and at the end of this video, I'm going to show you the point that I think we have all arrived at because we are unique in that we have not conformed to what everybody in the rest of the world thinks you should be doing. We entered crypto. We have taken a chance. We studied, we did our own research. We put it all together. And the answer is right in front of our face. And I'm going to finish this video by giving you something you can look at and think about in terms of where that puts you versus the rest of the population. But first, I wanted to start with David DePriest. We'll lead ourselves down that path. David DePriest had sent me, he didn't send me this, he sent me this, which I'm going to show you in a second. But I noticed that I Am Legion had touched on it as well. He says the biggest asset class known to man, prediction, they're going to tokenize everything. The need is liquidity. The problem is global debt. And we touched on this a week or so ago. I can't imagine all of this going off without the global debt problem being addressed in one way or another. And in fact, let me finish his tweet and then I'll read you something that was sent to me that I think was well written. He says they're going to tokenize upon everything. The need is liquidity. The problem is global debt. They have no other options. It's an illusion. That's why crypto will be the biggest asset class ever. And he's highlighting this. Global debt, which comprises borrowings from households, governments, and companies, grew by $9 trillion to nearly $253 trillion during that period, according to the Institute of International Finance. That puts the global debt to GDP ratio at 322%, narrowly surpassing 2016 as the highest level on record. And then he goes down. This guy says, in the words of DAI, it's not just some of the money, it's all of the money. Well, it's actually in the words of Evan Schwartz, who worked at Ripple.
What is Interledger's total addressable market size? All the money. Nobody wanted to feed it. Yeah, it's all the money, because what we're really talking about with this idea of the Internet of Value is creating a single global payment network that connects literally everyone.
So once again, you hear from someone that worked at Ripple just how big what we are is talking about. We're talking about all of the money. Now I want to go back to I Am Legion's thought pattern there on debts, and I want to read you something. Now this is from, he told me not to quote his Twitter feed, so I'm going to call him, he wanted me to call him, this is from the Maltese guy in Seattle, and he wanted me to give a shout out to Paul from Seattle as well. And so, but the Maltese guy in Seattle sent me this, and I thought that he wrote this up pretty well. Listen up close. It's not public debt, only government debt. So the way I see it is that the other countries are owed by the U.S., and the other countries also owe their central banks. The U.S. owes the Fed. Now the Fed is owned by the same group of investors who are creating the new Internet of Value. And we've shown you a lot of those investors over the last 2 weeks, folks, when I've been tying different things together, different companies, who owns what. And he says, and they need to roll out the new system. How do you get all the governments of the world to go along? Well, you offer them some debt consolidation cancellation in return for them onboarding the new system. The bigger G7 countries also get a few billion XRP reserves. Then, when they drive the price of XRP up, they are no longer balancing their books on the old system. This is why I've been telling you price set. They're no longer balancing their books on the old system, but the new one. They will be cash positive and very liquid. The new financial system has rules that if they run a defeatist, they will be fined. A defeatist, he meant deficit. they run a deficit, they will be fine. Therefore, they will have to run a clean economy. As XRP goes up in value, they will be able to balance their books and pay off the last of the debt. Countries have been negotiating how much debt relief they are going to get from the central banks and how much XRP they're going to be allocated by the IMF. Quote, the level playing field. Negotiations have been going on for the last 3 years. First come, first serve. The U.S. already has all the XRP, and so does the IMF. Now, 2/3 of the world's population is still unbanked, but they have cell phones. It's even been set up now that you can send XRP in a text message. So CBDCs will be on your phone more than a brick building bank, instead of a brick building bank. So countries with large unbanked populations have a massive bargaining chip for debt cancellation, as under the new digital system, you need a bank account. You don't need a bank account, just a phone. Now you have the remaining unbanked population of the world in the global financial system. No more cash systems that don't really impact the global economy. On board, 2/3 unbanked and freeing up the Nostro Vostro accounts is an adrenaline shot to the heart of the new system. Now you have even more liquidity, makes it even much easier to pay off debts, not to mention that once you have on board the whole world to this system, which covers micro payments and collects tax on all transactions in real time, depositing them directly into the IRS or equivalent government accounts in other countries. Now the governments have even more money to play with. Each country is going to be set apart from the other, so each country will now be successful based on how they produce for their economy. Effective production will be the new industry. If what you produce does not have a positive effect, you won't be able to play fantasy economics and print more money. Well, they could create more CBDCs, but it won't affect the economy of other countries as there is now a central liquidity pool that acts as a barrier. Well, it won't be about exports and imports anymore. Add to this the beer cold that say hello 1 to 2/3 of the elderly on their way to the next life. Now you don't have to find all the Social Security payments. Pension budget are decreased massively again, free up commitments of governments and making them even more liquid. Plans within plans within plans. It is a masterpiece of financial reset. I like the way he worded that at the end. It is a masterpiece of financial reset. Now, what he lays out here is his take on all of this. I couldn't begin to tell you the specific plan, but what I do firm, there's not a question in my mind that the XRP ledger is involved in however the exact plan falls out. I'm trying to show you different presentations of these plans because the XRP ledger is at the center of all of this. The XRP ledger, R3, all these companies, Hyperledger, these things we've been talking about, they're at the center of all of this. Okay, now moving along from I Am Legion, this is what the priest sent me. I want you to listen to this. I'm going to let you listen to about 4 minutes or so of this because this is a good video. It's done by Bonfire Guy, and he put this out. So give him a subscribe. I just wanted to play you some of this.
We believe that for the global economy to actually function well, it needs to be able to rely on a more open, more stable, more transparent, more predictable, and rules-based international trade system.
If we have the right policies and incentives, we can then create the momentum for the tremendous liquidity we have in the world that is sitting idle.
There is a proposal by the IMF to turn the SDR into the reserve currency per se. I'm kind of against it because the IMF is, to me, a very questionable organization. It has been bribed before.
And as such, it will be essential for the US and all its trading partners.
In fact, unfair trade is perhaps the single biggest reason that I decided to run for president.
Including the likes of China, Mexico, and others. to agree on a new system.
But unlike so many who came before me, I keep my promises. We did our job.
To agree to eliminate the distortions that put a brake on growth.
Today, I urge other nations to follow our example and liberate your citizens from the crushing weight of bureaucracy. With that, you have to run your own countries the way you want.
Now, folks said he was an isolationist and so forth and so on. The reality is we've cut huge trade deals, one in China, one in North America, one in South Korea, one in Japan. We're still working on the EU. In fact, I will be in the bilateral with the new president of the EU and President Trump. So he has been very prominent in international affairs.
What is Interledger's total addressable market size? All the money. Nobody wanted to feed it. Yeah, it's all the money, because what we're really talking about with this idea of the Internet of Value is creating a single global payment network.
You know, that idea of the boom-bust cycle and that history that we've been in for decades is really driven by shifts in credit and monetary policy. But you're in a situation now where the Fed is in a box. They can't tighten and they can't ease, and nor can other central banks, particularly the reserve currencies.
Sparky00618 wants to know, how will digital currencies and the shift in the global banking system affect Vanguard?
In Japan, almost every bank is starting to work with something called XRP, or you may know it as Ripple.
Yeah, it was a very exciting time. So much change going on. And one of those additional changes that I think will be part of this fourth industrial revolution is this notion that we now have this Internet of Value. We're moving into a world where value, money, payments is moving like information already does on the internet. And that's a big deal.
I would say revolutionizing international finance is not something that you would expect to happen overnight.
As the president has said, and I wholeheartedly agree, the best is yet to come, folks.
Well, it's about having a technology that cuts across borders and that can help cut the cost and improve the speed of cross-border payments, which everyone agrees now are too slow and too costly.
Where do you go from here? It's not going to look like it has.
So we kind of found ourselves in this situation where if we wanted institutions to settle their international payments with a digital asset, we first had to rebuild the payment messaging, sort of the plumbing.
So I would say the top priority for the global community is not about CBDC. CBDC will come in, so central bank digital currency. It will come in due course in different ways, and we're working on it. But the top urgent priority is to improve cross-border payments, in particular for low-income and developing economies, because that's a matter of financial inclusion and that's a matter of growth for the global economy.
So fintech should focus on what is actually transforming and then partner with the financial institutions so they keep doing what they're doing, and that's a win-win. And I firmly believe that that's how this is going to have the most impact.
But I do think we're already seeing language coming out of the Treasury that highlights the importance of a stable international monetary system. And I think that's new language, and I think that's reflecting the priorities of this administration.
We are creating an economic opportunity for all Americans that will allow you to seize your dreams. We're not going to be able to provide them, but we can create the playing field that enables you to realize your success.
You don't really want a weak dollar or a strong dollar. You want a dependable dollar. And I think that's what he understands at a gut level. And I'm hoping to see policy initiatives in conformance with that. It's a difficult argument to make in a world that has become used to having currencies not having any rules.
Every day I will not rest, I will not stop, I will never give up until we've...
Okay, I thought that was an excellent video. I just wanted to show you that part. But go give this guy a follow, Bonfire Guy. Give him a subscribe, that is, and give him a like too, because he did a good job on that video. Now, I wanted to show you all that because we're going to kind of go forward with all this now. XRP utility bridge asset for all global value. He had said this on Twitter. Serious two-part question on Black Monday 2020. Will XRP become the Bancor that Keynes envisioned as a supranational currency back in the 40s? Could this be accomplished via IMF ESDR? Green Eggs and Ham, this is Sam I Am to the Lifeboats on YouTube. Go give him a subscribe as well. He kind of called this a long time ago. That was always the plan for the SDR, but it never worked out. The new financial system is going to be gold-backed fiat with XRP as a bridge. Okay, I wanted to show you that. Now, Brian Melancholy XRP, who's the official court jester of the Digital Asset Investor channel, sent me this. Listen to this. This is from yesterday.
Having a news conference tomorrow to talk about various things that we're doing economically. They'll be very major, including, obviously, the payroll tax cut. And so we'll be meeting again tomorrow afternoon. We'll be coming back from the Senate. We have a lot of very important meetings set up. And we'll have a press conference sometime after that. And we'll explain what we're doing on an economic standpoint and from an economic standpoint. But they will be very dramatic. And we have a great economy. We have a very strong economy. But this blindsided the world. And I think we've handled it very, very well. I think they've done a great job. The people behind me have done a great job. So I will be here tomorrow afternoon to let you know about some of the economic steps we're taking, which will be major. Thank you very much.
Which will be major. All right. And then there was this. This is from Camo Ammo. Now, this all kind of ties together to me. He says this is about providing proper tools of liquidity. And this is Steve Mnuchin when he was speaking yesterday at the White House as well. Listen to this.
To companies and individuals for liquidity. So the president is 100% committed that we will provide whatever tools we need, that the economy will be in very good shape a year from now. This is not like the financial crisis where we don't know the end in sight. This is about providing proper tools and liquidity to get through the next few months.
Proper tools and liquidity. This is Chris Larson from Money 2020 a couple of years ago.
Is 10 years out on the financial crisis, we still don't have the infrastructure perhaps to prevent the next one. And I think this is where digital assets can really help, because an efficient digital asset can really solve some of the key problems in global liquidity. You know, the world's got trillions and trillions of dollars tied up in liquidity just to get around how clunky the movement of value is around the world. If with a really efficient digital asset, something like XRP, again, that's what we believe will be the most efficient, you can now reduce trillions and trillions of capital from being tied up. So you can make those transfers instantly as a bank or as a payment provider or as an enterprise without having to have money pre-positioned all over the world. So that's...
Okay, so there you go with that. Now, let's look at this economic news that we've seen over the last couple of days, really week or so. This is one of my favorite guys, by the way. And if you want to go to his website, he covers a lot of geopolitics and all sorts of things about the economy. He has several articles that are specific to XRP that are very interesting on his website. His website is philosophyofmetrics.com. And he's got some free articles, and he's also got a subscription there that you can get. But he's a very smart guy. He says, it's J.C. Collins. He says, oil crashing at the same time as bond yields. This doesn't happen, but now it is. While markets crash all over, OPEC is made impotent, and its clear central bank model is waning. Liquidity is freezing up as 2008 returns. A new standard is needed. What has been created since 2008? That's the whole point, folks. What has been created? When did Bitcoin come out? 2009 or so. XRP 2011 or 12, right in there. It's been worked on for the last 2 decades, according to the Federal Reserve Chairman. All right, and then there's this from Cryptopolis. Now, this is fascinating to me, and this is something I'm thinking about myself. Think about the home that you own. Here's what Cryptopolis says. Implicit in negative rates that a house selling for $500,000 today will be selling for $300,000 in a few years from now, indicating that the purchasing power of that currency will be dramatically higher, a scenario that implies a depression. And then there was this that's even scarier from Mr. B. You don't need a finance degree to know that this won't end well. This is from Alex Saunders. Breaking news. Italy suspends mortgage payments for the entire country of 60 million people. For some perspective, Aussie households have 3 times mortgage debt than Italy, 3 times more mortgage debt than Italy. We're heading into a massive recession. Are you taking this situation seriously yet? Now, here's what I want to, all of you, I want to tell you 2 things, folks, and you better listen really good here. We're heading into something awful, and it's good and it's bad. The bad is that you and I in the XRP community and that have discovered digital assets and truly believe that this is one of the only things that will truly thrive while everything else is pure destruction, is digital assets, specifically XRP. Okay? Now, what's going to happen in conjunction with that, as a natural part, I believe, is that many of the people that you know are going to be in a lot of financial pain and otherwise. And this is going to include layoffs, and it's going to include a lot of things where a lot of people are going to be hurt. Okay, you're just starting to see the beginning of the layoff portion of this. This is Revlon goes for layoffs, debt refinancing to shore up its balance sheet. You're going to see a tidal wave of this type of thing. Well, for people that are paying attention, you can get a benefit out of this. I'm telling you, there's a reason that I started talking about this. Listen up. This came out yesterday. iTrustCapital reports 280% increase in accounts fueled by tax-savvy cryptocurrency investors. But these people, any of you that are out there that are being laid off, iTrustCapital, you're able to roll over. You don't have to do all of it. You can roll over a portion of the 401ks that you have at these companies. If you're being laid off, you can roll all of it or partial into an iTrustCapital IRA. Now, in the description of every video I do, you can get a month discount on your iTrustCapital IRA. There's a coupon code in the description of every video I do. Now listen to this. What this means is when you roll over a 401k, it means that your retirement funds, you can put some of them in physical XRP. You can buy XRP inside of these iTrustCapital IRAs. You can either roll over a 401k or you can just go and create an IRA there without ever having a 401k. But here's what's the benefit, folks. It's either tax deferred or completely tax free. My Roth IRA, do you think when I sell any of my XRP, it's not going to be sold on Coinbase? I'm not going to incur those tax consequences. I'm going to sell the XRP that's in my Roth IRA at iTrustCapital because I'm not going to have to pay taxes on it. And if you lose your job and you have, and if you believe like I do that XRP and some of these digital assets are going to tremendously benefit from what is going to happen and what is happening with this economy, then rolling that in, being able to, if you get laid off, being able to roll it into an iTrustCapital IRA is huge. But from a tax perspective, it's like paying 20 or 30% versus paying 0% possibly in an IRA. Well, this is what they reported today. This was from the Newswire. IRA investment platform iTrustCapital reports a massive 3x increase in signups from January to February as seasoned cryptocurrency investors flock to its low-cost platform. iTrustCapital executives identified 2 main reasons for this increase. First, cryptocurrency investors may be taking positions in advance of a potential bull run by institutional adoption of XRP technology, Bitcoin's halving event, and economic uncertainty. Second, awareness of the ease of use and low cost of its platform within the cryptocurrency community is bringing new investors who otherwise would not use self-directed IRAs. The tax advantages of investing cryptocurrencies within IRAs are obvious. Investors keep more of their profits. If you make $10,000 investment, if you make a $10,000 investment that grows to $100,000, investors may have to give 1/3 to 1/2 of that $90,000 profit to the state and federal government, says Tim Shaler, economist. And if they're in an iTrustCapital IRA or a Roth IRA or something like that, it's going to be either tax deferred or tax free, folks. Okay, now let me close this video out with a major point here. I want to show you. Remember SBI Holdings is the largest outside shareholder of Ripple. They're also the largest outside shareholder of R3. SBI Holdings is owned. The largest shareholders of SBI Holdings is BNY Mellon, State Street, Northern Trust, some of the largest banks and custody solutions in the United States. The SBI Holdings CEO is one of the most bullish people on XRP in the world that I have seen. This is what he said today, folks, not yesterday, today. SBI, now there's always a little bit lost in translation between the US and Japan, but you can get the picture. He said today, the restructuring of the financial industry will accelerate in the next 5 years. I wonder if he's talking about this 5 years, 2020 to 2025, where Ripple becomes the standard for international money transfers between banks, or when R3 quarter digital asset, what was the H? Digital asset holdings was the H. Hyperledger Fabric. I wonder if he's talking about this 2020 to 2025, the next 5 years. But he says the restructuring of the financial industry will accelerate in the next 5 years. This is the same guy that back on March the 3rd said, read Riyadh G20 statement. Is XRP finally approved by the G20? Okay, same guy. He's also the same guy from I Am Legion. And this is a question for you all out there. When do you start to believe? Is it when XRP is $10, $100, or $1,000? Did people in general believe in Apple stock when it was $1? How about Microsoft or Amazon? And then he goes on, he says NTT Data, the world's 5th largest IT services company, and with 150,000 consultants, says, we are well positioned to support Ripple in their journey of global dominance. Here it is. As a part of the 5th largest IT service group and having a global coverage with over 150,000 consultants means we are well positioned to support Ripple in their journey of global dominance. My words, not those of Ripple. Okay? And then there's this. And remember, NTT is more or less owned by the Japanese government. Who's one of the most powerful people in Japan? The CEO of SBI Holdings, Yoshitaka Kitao, who said this. Kitao, SBI, I strongly believe XRP will become the global standard. And he said it here in Ripple Insights. Not only does it have a clear use case, XRP is faster, cheaper, and more scalable than any other digital asset. Mr. Kitao said, I strongly believe it will become the global standard in digital currencies. Now, I believe that they all know. Remember, this Everest document was put out by, an NTT Data company, the same company that's in essence owned by the Japanese government, of which Yoshitaka Kitao is one of the most powerful people there, okay? This is what they were talking about. They laid this plan out. The world has laid this plan out. And finally, I want to finish with you all. Remember, you and we're the ones that have been laughed at about, oh, you invested in cryptocurrency. We've been laughed at about all this. Oh, nothing's happened. The prices are so low. Yeah, you keep saying this, but the prices are low. Remember, the price of XRP that only factors in speculation more or less to this day is a distraction, per Glenn Hutchins, who's on the board of directors of the Digital Currency Group, and also can sit on stage with the SEC chairman of the United States and literally look like he's talking down to the guy. Okay, this is the type people you're talking about. The value is in the protocol, and the protocol is going to become the standard for the world. That's what we're talking about. So for those of you who have felt like, could I be wrong on this? Am I wrong on this? Here's what I say to you by Earl Nightingale. The opposite of courage in our society is not cowardice, it's conformity. Everyone else is wanting to be like everyone else, and they didn't have the guts to go out on a limb like you and I did and say, you know what? I've seen this. I've seen enough. I've studied this. I've researched this. I've looked at what all is going on. I'm not imagining this. And it's like I Am Legion said right here. He says up here at the top, when do you start to believe? Is it when XRP is $10, $100, $1,000? He's right. And you're not, I don't believe that you're going to see those numbers until it's not about what you're looking at on CoinMarketCap. It's about when this is all set in motion. And I believe it's set in motion, not next year, but this year. And I believe we're talking about all of the money, not some of the money. And finally, I want to end with this for all of you that have never seen it. I'll hit the refresh button here. This is from Earl Nightingale. My father made me listen to this when I was younger. I've listened to it over 100 times in my lifetime. If you never listen to anything in your life ever again, it's called The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale. You can listen to it on YouTube. I've showed it on this channel before. I don't believe it's a coincidence that I've listened to this 100 times, and the lessons that I learned in this one video, I believe changed my entire life and the way I thought about life. And regardless of what I believe is happening with digital assets, you, especially you young people out there, you need to go listen to this, and you need to listen to it anytime you get down for the rest of your life, because it will change your life. But you will also hear things that he talks about in here that will directly relate to where we are with XRP and these digital assets today. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, and tell your friends and family. The opposite of courage in our society is not cowardice. It's conformity. It's everyone acting like everyone else. And if you're here listening to my voice, you're one of the not lucky ones. You showed up because you used your brain and thought for yourself instead of being just a face in the crowd and doing what was comfortable for everyone else. Yes, the last 2 years of the bear market have been very uncomfortable. But the people who are willing to go through things like that, those are the people who win the prize in life. Thanks for listening.